You know that feeling when something's off, but you can't quite put your finger on it? That's how I felt when Marcus called me for the third time that week. My son-in-law had never been much of a talker. In the 8 years he'd been married to my daughter Lisa, our conversations rarely went beyond football scores and weather updates. So when he started asking about my health, my hobbies, my plans for the future, I should have known something was wrong. But I was lonely. My wife Helen had passed away 2 years earlier, and the silence in our house, my house, now had become unbearable. So when Marcus suggested we grab lunch, I said yes. When he showed up at my door the following Saturday with coffee and bagels, I welcomed him in. When he started visiting every weekend, I actually looked forward to it. I'm 65 years old. I spent 40 years as a mechanical engineer before retiring. I'm not senile. I'm not confused. But grief has a way of making you vulnerable. And I was vulnerable. I missed having someone to talk to. I missed feeling like I mattered to someone. Marcus seemed to understand that. He'd sit in Helen's old chair, the one I couldn't bear to move, and listen to my stories about the old days. He'd ask questions about my work, my childhood, my time in the Navy. He made me feel seen again, valued, like I wasn't just some old man waiting to die. 3 months into these visits, Marcus started talking about money. It began casually enough. We were watching a documentary about the housing market, and Marcus mentioned he'd been helping clients invest in commercial real estate. "It's incredible, William," he said, leaning forward with that enthusiastic energy of his. "People are doubling their money in 18 months, sometimes less." I nodded politely. I'd always been conservative with money. Helen and I had saved carefully, lived modestly. We'd paid off the house 20 years ago. I had my pension, my Social Security, some bonds. Nothing exciting, but enough. "You know," Marcus continued, "with the market the way it is, keeping money in bonds is actually losing you value. Inflation eats away at it. But if you diversified into real estate, into something with actual growth potential," he trailed off, letting the suggestion hang in the air. I told him I wasn't interested. I liked simple, I liked safe. He nodded, smiled, changed the subject. But he'd planted the seed. Over the next few weeks, Marcus kept dropping hints. He'd mention a client who just bought a beach house with investment profits. He'd show me articles about real estate markets booming. He'd casually reference financial advisors who recommended diversification for retirees. "To protect your legacy," he'd say. "To make sure Lisa is taken care of." Lisa. My daughter. That's when he really got me thinking. Lisa and Marcus lived in a nice enough apartment, but they'd been talking about buying a house for years. They wanted to start a family, they said, but they needed more space first. I'd offered to help with a down payment once, but Marcus had been too proud to accept. "We'll do it ourselves," he'd insisted. "We don't want to be a burden." But now, Marcus was talking about investments, about growth, about securing futures. And I started thinking maybe I could help them without it feeling like charity. If I invested wisely, grew my savings, I could leave them more when I was gone. That's the hook they use, isn't it? They make you think it's for someone you love. 4 months after these visits started, Marcus came over with a folder. "I probably shouldn't show you this," he said, glancing around like someone might be listening. "These opportunities are usually reserved for my high net worth clients. But your family, William. And I've been thinking about what you said, about wanting to leave something substantial for Lisa." He opened the folder. Inside were glossy brochures for something called the Pacific Gateway Real Estate Fund, commercial properties in Seattle, Portland, San Francisco. The projected returns were listed as 15 to 20% annually. The minimum investment was $250,000. I'd recently sold Helen's car and some other belongings. Combined with my savings, I had about $400,000 liquid. The rest was tied up in the house and my retirement accounts. "This fund closes to new investors next month," Marcus said. "After that, you'd need $1 million minimum to get in, but I can get you in now, at the $250,000 level, because of our relationship. It's actually against policy, but I trust you, and I want to help." Everything about it sounded good, too good. But Marcus had all the answers. He showed me performance reports from previous years. He gave me testimonials from satisfied investors. He explained how the fund was managed by a team in San Francisco, how they specialized in commercial real estate with long-term corporate tenants, how it was low risk because of the diversification. "Just think about it," he said, leaving the folder with me. "No pressure, but if you're interested, I'd need to know by the end of the month. The fund closes on December 15th. That was the first red flag I ignored. The pressure, the deadline, the sense of urgency. I spent that week reading through the materials. I even looked up the fund online. They had a professional website, news articles about their projects. Everything seemed legitimate. I called the number listed and spoke to someone in their investor relations department. She confirmed everything Marcus had told me. What I didn't know, what I couldn't have known, was that Marcus had given me a fake phone number that redirected to his partner's cell phone. The following Saturday, Marcus came over with Lisa. That should have been the second red flag. Lisa never came to these weekend visits. She was always busy work, friends, errands. But that day, she showed up, gave me a hug, and said, "Dad, Marcus told me about the investment opportunity. I think it sounds really smart." I looked at my daughter. She had Helen's eyes, her mother's smile. "You think I should do it?" I asked. "I think you should do what feels right for you," she said carefully. "But Marcus knows this stuff. He does it for a living. And it would be nice to know that your money is working for you, instead of just sitting there." That's when I should have seen it. The rehearsed quality of her words, the way she glanced at Marcus before answering. But I didn't. I was too focused on the fact that my daughter was here, talking to me, caring about my financial future. "Let me think about it a little more," I said. Marcus nodded. "Of course. Take your time." "Well, not too much time. The deadline is firm. But you've got a couple more weeks." They stayed for dinner. It was the first time in months that the house felt full again. Lisa told stories about her work at the hospital. She was a nurse, and Marcus talked about a vacation they were planning to Hawaii. It was nice. It felt like family. After they left, I sat in the quiet house and made my decision. I'd do it. I'd invest the money. Not all of it, I wasn't foolish, but $250,000. Enough to get into the fund, enough to potentially grow into something substantial for Lisa's future. The next morning, I called Marcus. "I'm in," I said. "William, that's fantastic." His voice was bright, excited. "I really think you're making a smart choice here. Listen, I'll get the paperwork together. We can meet at my office downtown on Tuesday to sign everything and set up the wire transfer. How's 10 in the morning? Your office?" I asked. In all these months, Marcus had always come to me. I'd never been to his workplace. "Yeah, it'll be easier. I'll have the notary there, and we can get everything processed quickly. The fund managers are really particular about their documentation. Everything has to be properly notarized and filed." "Okay," I said. "Tuesday at 10. I spent the weekend feeling good about my decision. I even drove out to the cemetery and told Helen about it. "I'm doing something smart with the money," I said, standing over her grave. "Something that'll help Lisa. You'd be proud." Tuesday morning, I put on my good suit, the navy one I'd worn to Helen's funeral, and drove downtown. Marcus had given me an address on Spring Street, in one of those glass high-rises that all look the same. I parked in the garage and took the elevator to the 14th floor. The office was impressive. Modern furniture, floor-to-ceiling windows, a receptionist who smiled professionally as I walked in. "You must be Mr. Harrison," she said. "Marcus is expecting you. Conference room B, just down that hall on the left." I found the room. Marcus was there with another man, early 60s, gray hair, expensive suit. "William," Marcus stood, shook my hand warmly. "This is Robert Chen, our senior notary. He'll be witnessing the documents today." Robert stood, nodded. "Pleasure to meet you, Mr. Harrison." We sat. Marcus spread out the papers, a thick stack of them on the conference table. "Okay," he said, clicking his pen. "This is pretty straightforward. This first document is your investor agreement with Pacific Gateway. It outlines the terms, the fee structure, the distribution schedule. This second one is the wire transfer authorization for your bank. And this third one is a power of attorney designation, just in case there are any time-sensitive decisions that need to be made when we can't reach you directly. Totally standard for all our investors." "Power of attorney," Something about that phrase made me pause. What kind of decisions? I asked. Oh, minor stuff, Marcus said with a dismissive wave. Like if the fund has an opportunity to acquire an additional property but needs quick investor approval, rather than trying to get written consent from 200 different people, the designated attorney can approve on behalf of their clients. It's limited specifically to fund-related decisions. You can read through the language, it's all there. I picked up the power of attorney document. The legal jargon was dense, difficult to parse. Maybe I should have my lawyer look at this, I said. Marcus's smile tightened slightly. Of course, if you want to. But William, the fund closes in 3 days. If we don't get this process today, you'll lose the spot. I've already put your name on the investor list. If you back out now, I'll have to explain to the fund managers that I guaranteed a family member who couldn't follow through. It's going to make me look really bad professionally. I'm not backing out, I said quickly. I just want to understand what I'm signing. And you should, Marcus agreed. Here, let me walk you through it, line by line. He started reading. His voice was smooth, practiced, confident. Everything sounded reasonable when he explained it. The power of attorney was limited in scope. The fees were industry standard. The terms were favorable. Robert the notary sat there, silent, waiting. Do you have any questions? Robert finally asked. I'm not allowed to give legal advice, but I can clarify what the documents say. No, I said slowly. I think I understand. Marcus pushed a pen toward me. Great. Just need your signature on pages 4, 9, 12, and 23, and your initials on the rest. I picked up the pen. That's when my phone rang. Sorry, I muttered, pulling it from my pocket. The caller ID showed a number I didn't recognize, but it was local. Normally I'd ignore it, but something instinct maybe made me answer. Hello? Mr. Harrison? William Harrison? Yes? This is Patricia Valdez from First National Bank. I'm calling about the large withdrawal authorization we received this morning. I wanted to verify before processing. Are you attempting to wire $250,000 to Pacific Gateway Investment Group? My stomach dropped. I haven't authorized anything yet. I'm just signing the papers now. There was a pause on the other end. Sir, we received electronic authorization at 8:30 this morning. The wire is scheduled to process at 2 p.m. unless you stop it. I looked at Marcus. His face had gone carefully neutral. I need to call you back, I said into the phone. Mr. Harrison, before you go, I feel obligated to tell you that we've flagged this transaction as potentially suspicious. Pacific Gateway Investment Group is not a registered financial institution. We have no record of them in our database of verified businesses. I strongly recommend you speak with our fraud department before proceeding. Thank you, I said quietly. I'll come by this afternoon. I ended the call. The silence in the conference room was deafening. What was that about? Marcus asked, his tone carefully casual. The bank, I said. They said they received a wire authorization this morning, but I didn't send anything. Marcus laughed a little too loud, a little too quick. Oh, that's probably just the preliminary paperwork I filed. Sometimes banks process things in advance to make sure everything goes smoothly. It's normal. They said Pacific Gateway isn't a registered financial institution. That's because we're a private fund, not a bank. The person you spoke to probably doesn't understand the difference. William, look, if you're having second thoughts, I need to think about this, I said, standing up. Marcus stood too. Okay, that's fine. But the deadline. I understand the deadline. I just need to talk to my bank. If everything checks out, I'll come back this afternoon. I could see the calculation happening behind Marcus's eyes. Push too hard and I'd bolt. Let me go and he might lose the deal. He chose the latter. Of course, he said smoothly. Take your time. You have my number. Just let me know. I walked out of that office, took the elevator down, got in my car. My hands were shaking. I drove straight to the bank. Patricia Valdez was a woman in her 50s, with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. She took me into a private office and pulled up my account on her computer. Mr. Harrison, I'm glad you came in. This morning at 8:32, we received an electronic wire authorization through our online banking portal. It was submitted using your login credentials. Did you make this submission? No, I said firmly. I haven't accessed my online account in weeks. She nodded slowly. Has anyone else had access to your computer? Your phone? I thought about all those weekends with Marcus. Him sitting in my living room. Me making coffee, going to the bathroom, stepping outside to water Helen's roses. Plenty of opportunities for him to grab my phone, to watch me type in a password. Maybe, I admitted. Patricia pulled up the transaction details. The wire was set to go to an account registered to Pacific Gateway Investment Group. I did some checking before you arrived. Pacific Gateway is a recently registered LLC in Nevada, only 3 months old. The principals are listed as Marcus Chen and Robert Chen. Chen, the notary's last name. They're related? I asked. It appears so. Father and son, based on the ages listed. Mr. Harrison, this has all the hallmarks of an investment scam targeting elderly individuals. The pressure tactics, the fake urgency, the power of attorney document, it's textbook elder financial abuse. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. My daughter, I whispered. Lisa. She encouraged me to do it. Patricia's expression softened with sympathy. Sometimes family members are complicit. Sometimes they're being manipulated too. Either way, you need to protect yourself. I'm canceling this wire transfer immediately, and I'm going to recommend you file a police report. What about my daughter? I asked. If Marcus goes to jail, that's not your burden to carry, Mr. Harrison. If your daughter participated in defrauding you, that's a choice she made. But right now, we need to secure your assets. She spent the next hour helping me change all my passwords, setting up fraud alerts, transferring my funds to a new account Marcus couldn't access. She connected me with the bank's fraud investigator, a detective named Morrison who specialized in financial crimes against seniors. Detective Morrison was younger than I expected, maybe 40, but he listened carefully as I recounted everything. The visits, the friendship building, the investment pitch, the pressure, the documents. Did you sign anything? He asked. No. The bank called before I could. Good. That makes this cleaner. Mr. Harrison, I'm going to be honest with you, we see this constantly. Family members, especially sons-in-law and daughters-in-law, targeting aging parents and in-laws. They build trust, create urgency, and extract money. The power of attorney is the real goal. Once they have that, they can drain accounts, sell property, everything. You dodged a bullet. What about my daughter? I asked again. Morrison sighed. That's complicated. If she knowingly participated, she's an accessory to attempted fraud. But we'd need to prove she knew it was a scam. If Marcus told her it was a legitimate investment and she believed him, she might not be criminally liable. Do you think she knew? I thought about Lisa that day. The rehearsed quality of her words. The way she wouldn't quite meet my eyes. I don't know, I said honestly. We'll need to investigate. In the meantime, I'd recommend you not tell Marcus or Lisa that you've reported this. Let us do our job. We'll contact them, see how they respond. Sometimes the truth comes out under pressure. I went home that night feeling hollowed out. I sat in the dark living room, in Helen's chair, and tried to make sense of it all. Had Lisa really tried to help her husband steal from me? Or had Marcus fooled her too? I wanted to call her. I wanted to hear her voice tell me she didn't know, that she'd been manipulated, that she still loved me. But Detective Morrison had been clear. No contact. Not yet. 3 days later, Morrison called me. We interviewed Marcus Chen this morning. He's denying everything, says Pacific Gateway is a legitimate investment fund, says he was only trying to help you. But we contacted the Nevada Secretary of State. Pacific Gateway LLC was registered by Marcus and his father Robert, who is not actually a licensed notary, by the way. They've created a sophisticated shell operation. Fake website, fake testimonials, even a fake customer service number that redirects to a phone tree they control. How many people have they scammed? I asked. We're still investigating. But we found records of at least 4 other victims in the past 6 months. Total losses are over $900,000. None of them reported it because Marcus told them it was a failed investment. not a scam. They thought they'd just made a bad financial decision. And Lisa? Morrison paused. We interviewed her separately. She claims she didn't know the fund was fake. Says Marcus told her it was a legitimate opportunity, that he was doing you a favor by including you. She seemed genuinely shocked when we told her the truth. Do you believe her? I don't know, Mr. Harrison. She could be a very good actress, or she could be another one of his victims. We'll keep investigating, but right now, our focus is building a case against Marcus and Robert Chen. We're recommending the district attorney file charges for attempted fraud, elder abuse, and identity theft. The case took months to build. During that time, I didn't hear from Lisa. Not a call, not a text, nothing. I didn't reach out either. What would I say? Marcus and Robert were arrested in March. The news covered it. Local financial consultant accused of elder scam. I didn't watch the reports. I didn't want to see Marcus's face. The trial was in June. I had to testify. I had to sit in that courtroom and recount how my son-in-law had befriended me, gained my trust, and tried to steal my life savings. The defense attorney tried to paint me as confused, as misunderstanding a legitimate business transaction. But Patricia Valdez testified about the suspicious wire authorization. Detective Morrison presented evidence of the shell company, the fake documents, the other victims. The jury deliberated for less than 3 hours. Guilty on all counts. Marcus got 5 years in prison. Robert got 3. That should have been the end of it. Justice served, case closed. But it wasn't the end, because 2 weeks after the sentencing, Lisa called me. I almost didn't answer, but I did. Dad, she said, her voice small and broken. Can we talk? We met at a coffee shop halfway between our homes. Neutral territory. She looked tired, older than her 38 years. She ordered a tea she didn't drink. I didn't know, she said immediately. I swear to you, Dad, I didn't know it was a scam. Marcus told me it was a real investment. He showed me paperwork. He explained how it worked. I thought I was helping you make a smart financial decision. I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to believe her. Why didn't you call me? I asked. After the arrest? After everything came out, why didn't you call? Her eyes filled with tears. Because I was ashamed. Because my husband tried to rob my father, and even if I didn't know, I should have known. I should have seen the signs. I should have protected you instead of encouraging you. She wiped at her eyes. And I was scared you'd never forgive me. I don't know if I can, I said honestly. I don't know if I believe you. You came to the house that day, Lisa. You told me the investment was smart. You pushed me toward it. I know, and I'll have to live with that. But Dad, please, you have to believe I thought it was real. I thought Marcus was successful, that he was good at his job, that he was trying to help. I didn't know about the other victims. I didn't know about the fake company. I didn't know any of it until the police told me. We sat in silence for a long moment. I'm divorcing him, she said quietly. I've already filed the papers. I can't be married to someone who would do that, who would use me to hurt you. What will you do? I asked. I don't know. Work, survive, try to rebuild. I'm going to therapy, the prosecutor said. I might need to testify in civil cases from the other victims, people trying to recover their losses. I'll do whatever I need to do to make this right. I looked at my daughter, Helen's daughter, and I saw the little girl who used to bring me dandelions from the yard, who used to fall asleep on my shoulder during car rides, who used to trust me to keep her safe. And I wondered if she was telling the truth. I wondered if it mattered. I need time, I said finally. I can't just forgive and forget. You're my daughter, and I love you. But you hurt me, Lisa. Even if you didn't mean to, you hurt me. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. I understand. Take all the time you need. I just wanted you to know. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. She left. I sat there with my cold coffee and tried to figure out how I felt. Angry? Yes. Betrayed? Absolutely. But also sad. Because even if Lisa was telling the truth, even if she'd been manipulated too, our relationship would never be the same. The trust was broken. Maybe irreparably. That was 8 months ago. Lisa calls me once a week now, Sunday mornings. We talk for maybe 10 minutes. She tells me about work, about her therapy, about the divorce proceedings. I tell her about my garden, about the model train set I've started building, about the book club I joined at the community center. We don't talk about Marcus. We don't talk about the trial, or the money, or the betrayal. We just talk, like acquaintances, like strangers trying to find common ground. I don't know if we'll ever be close again. I don't know if I'll ever fully trust her. But she's my daughter. She's all I have left of Helen. So I answer when she calls. I listen. And maybe, someday, that will be enough. The house feels emptier now than it did before Marcus started visiting. At least back then, I had my grief and my memories. Now I have suspicion and doubt layered on top of everything else. I second-guess every kind gesture, every offer of help. When my neighbor offered to mow my lawn while I was recovering from knee surgery, my first thought was, what does he want from me? That's what betrayal does. It doesn't just hurt in the moment. It changes how you see the world. I still visit Helen's grave every Sunday. After I hang up with Lisa, I drive to the cemetery and tell Helen everything. About the trial, about the phone calls, about how I'm doing. I don't know if I'm doing the right thing, I told her last week. Talking to Lisa, trying to rebuild. Part of me thinks I should just cut her off completely, protect myself. But she's our daughter, Helen. She's our baby girl. The wind rustled through the trees. A bird sang somewhere nearby. Helen didn't answer, of course, but I could imagine what she'd say. She'd tell me that loving someone and protecting yourself aren't mutually exclusive. She'd tell me that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. She'd tell me to trust my gut. My gut says Lisa is telling the truth. My gut says she was used by Marcus, manipulated just like I was. But my gut has been wrong before. So I keep answering the phone on Sunday mornings. I keep listening to my daughter's voice, trying to hear the truth beneath the words. And I keep my accounts locked down tight, my passwords changed monthly, my guard up, because here's what I learned from all of this. Love without boundaries becomes enabling. I loved Marcus, or at least I loved the version of him he presented to me. I loved having someone to talk to, someone who seemed to care, and that love made me vulnerable. It made me ignore red flags, dismiss suspicions, trust when I should have verified. I won't make that mistake again. Not with Lisa, not with anyone. Trust, once broken, takes years to rebuild. Maybe a lifetime, maybe forever. And that's okay, because protecting yourself isn't cruel. It's necessary. It's survival. I'm 65 years old. I'm not senile. I'm not confused. But I am careful now. Careful with my money, careful with my trust, careful with my heart. And every Sunday, when Lisa calls and says, I love you, Dad, before hanging up, I say it back, because I do love her. But I don't know if I'll ever believe her again. And maybe that's the real tragedy, not that my son-in-law tried to rob me, but that my daughter helped him destroy the one thing we can't get back, trust.